嗨，大家好，欢迎大家回到我们的 TSCC Radio 直播。谢谢大家在过去1年当中里面来参加我们这样的一个直播。今天我们要跟大家来分享一个很重要的话题。在这里有一个年轻貌美的佳敏。
Hello， 哇，谢谢你的夸奖。
给他我们今天就请了他来跟我们分享关于公积金跟医药保健。他在这个财务界当中里面有5年多的时间，跟不同的人分享关于财务的规划。那今天我们特别请到他来到我们当中来分享这个公积金跟这个医药保健。好，我们首先问一下你，可以简单的一点来跟我们分享一下，这一个公积金的一些的认识吗
？OK，so 公积金就是 CPF 对吗？
是
，OK，so CPF 呢，就是开始的时候，就是政府要就是 encourage 每个新加坡人都能够自立啦，就是在退休的时候都会存一些钱，所以他就 set up 这个 CPF， 说每一个人都会从他们的工资都会拿出一部分的钱，能够放在一边，能够 for 他们的 retirement。So primarily it's a retirement kind of account for all Singaporeans and PRs.
Yeah. All right. 就是as in CPF, this inside there will be a different account, right? In Singapore, there are almost as many as 85% of people are contributing to CPF, right? Yeah. So it's actually a very big sum for most of Singaporeans on it.
Yeah.
Would you want to help us to understand a little bit on the different accounts, that our money going into?
Okay, so in CPF there are 3 accounts. So we know there is the ordinary account, right? And then there's a special account, and we have something called the MediSave account. So the easiest to explain is MediSave account, because MediSave account, it means like it has everything to do with medical, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and then OA account, which is the ordinary account, which most of us use, is that because over time, the government also opened up lah. So OA can be used for like education. It also can be used for like like your house mortgage and things like that. And then what they really lock in is the special account that is for that is purposely set aside for retirement lah. Yeah, so basically when your money goes in, you will have like when the money goes in, you'll split into these 3 accounts. And then but primarily it is still a retirement account after all.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the brief introduction. Today our topic is about medical hospitalization using CPF, understanding how CPF going to help Singaporean in terms of the medical perspective of it, right? So probably you want to help us to understand what CPF has actually included, all the various medical protections, that are given under CPF.
Okay, so there are some schemes, right, that every one of us have. So maybe can have the slides up. So I prepared some slides lah, so it's 可能比较容易明白. So mainly we have 3 schemes. So one is the MediShield Life Scheme, which is compulsory for every Singaporean and PR. You must have this scheme one.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually to cover mainly simple hospitalization bills. And then we have ElderShield. For some people, you are ElderShield, or for the newer or younger people, it's like CareShield Life lah. So this one covers disability. And then, which we will actually go through a little bit more next week. Yeah, and the last one is a dependent protection scheme, which is a one-time payout that is if upon death, or if you are terminally ill, or you have a total permanent disability, they also pay out this lump sum to your family. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So,
all right. It's rather comprehensive, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But then you just mentioned about the MediSave account. All right, that we contributed in, and then there is this various scheme, all right, that the government included in the CPF. Can you probably enlighten us what's the difference between the MediShield insurance, so-called, that you are explaining, and the MediSave account, that we are having?
Okay, so in terms of, like when you say MediSave is account, so MediSave is more like an account where it's like a bank account where when the money goes to CPF and the money goes to MediSave account, right? So every dollar is as it is. So if I use MediSave to pay for my bills, $1 will just use like $1 out from an account. But when I use MediSave and buy an insurance plan like MediShield Life, then they will have a whole lot of like coverages because you are actually using $1 to buy a premium of an insurance plan. Yeah, so MediShield Life is like something that you use your MediSave money to buy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we actually don't have to come up money. You're using that CPF account money to buy that insurance plan.
Correct. So I mean, the government promises that everybody will have this. Even if you have no money, you will also minimally have this coverage.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? Okay. I think today we're going to focus on MediShield Life, right? Can you help us to understand a little bit more on MediShield Life?
Okay. Wait. So let me. Okay. I'll just skip this a little bit. Okay, so MediShield Life is it's a very, very simple basic insurance. It's to make sure that everybody in Singapore can afford like basic healthcare lah. So you can see like maybe in this slide I share, there's a lot of things that is being covered. So you can see that it's mainly okay. So the main thing about MediShield Life is that there are some claim limits. So you can see that every category, right, that we do like surgical or maybe it's maybe ward services, we all have a limit to how much we can claim for each service. And of course, in a year, maximum you can claim 150,000 in a year. So let's say, for example, if you use more than that, then you have to fork out your own cash lah. So it is a very basic. I mean, 150,000. If you are familiar with the Singapore medical landscape, it's really very, very basic. Yeah.
Oh, so this one is that we when we warded a hospital, all right, is there any restrictions or limitations, right, in terms of wards that we are actually choosing?
If you go through MediShield Life, of course there are some things that you have to go through lah. So as a Singaporean, you probably have to go through the polyclinic route, and then you get a referral. Then they will refer you to like a restructured hospital. So restructured hospital is like maybe Tan Tock Seng, SGH, all these, and then you stay in a B2 ward or a C ward. And then you will be like, kind of like MediShield Life will be able to cover most of your bills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the B2 wards is like probably how many bedded are we talking about?
If I'm not wrong, I mean C ward and B2 wards are probably like 8 bedders, 6 bedders, and most likely most of the hospital will not have aircon lah for this kind of ward class. Yeah.
So if we were to go to like the B1A class or this, right, which is like 1 or 2, that means this scheme will not be covered.
It is just it will be covered, but then like you see there are limitations in like the claim limits, right? So of course, if I choose to go to the higher class, then I have to fork out a lot more cash than what I'm expected to. Yeah, so when you buy insurance, usually you want to buy something that is aligned with your lifestyle or the things that you want. So like for example, people who are holding MediShield Life, that means they don't mind or they are very used to like going through or staying in a C ward and B2 ward and they are fine. And then it's very good for them. But of course, like if you mention like if there's someone who, you know, wants to, because you are, let's say, very critically ill and you don't want to have somebody beside you snoring, you want to be in a one-bedder, right? Like in a hospital, then of course...
I think those people who never wanted to room with me.
So some people snore very loudly and it disturbs you. So some people actually, I mean, in Singapore it's also very common for people to pick up something we call the integrated shield plan. Which is so other insurance company will offer like so all those private insurers like Prudential, AIA, AXA, all these they will all offer like supplementary, complementary. That means on top of MediShield Life to cover you more claim limits and also like if you want to go to A ward. Or like if you want to go to like just now I say it's restructured, right? So let's say if I want to go to private hospital, like you want to go Mount E, you want to go Gleneagle, then you probably might want to consider like an integrated shield plan.
I see. Before we come to that, okay, can I probably ask you, because there are a bit of confusion sometimes, okay, it seems that, all right, let's say this is actually a MediShield Life that's provided by governments, right? But I understand there are certain restrictions, like they are not fully covered, that kind of thing. Like some kind of like 95%, okay, covering, but with this, they may not even cover 95%. That means, I'm saying that would this cover every of my medical costs. If I were to have one of the MediShield Life and I go to the B2 class and I go to the C class, as what is being designed for us.
You mean if there is co-payment or things like that?
Yeah, something like a bit confusion. There are some like co-payment thing. There's something that the MediSave that we're going to buy for this MediShield is not completely covers. Right. So what are the portions that are not covered actually?
I think like some things that are not covered inside here that most of the time people will incur costs is like maybe like before you're hospitalized, most likely you will go to see doctors to refer, and then after that you probably have post follow-ups and things like that. So some of these things actually, as you can see, whatever I put inside here is really what is being covered already. Yeah, so there's things that you will realize that through the whole hospitalization journey, that is not being covered under MediShield Life, and that will be via your own cash top up that you will have to do that.
I thought there is a co-insurance portions that actually not cover, and there is like a kind of like deductible thing that's not covered as well, right?
Yeah, so that is like for some of the things, for anything that you go to the hospital, like what you mentioned, there are these two items that are, simplicity we say is a co-payment portion that people have to pay. And this one is you have to pay no matter what.
How much is that?
Yeah, so, so let's say for example, co-insurance is probably 10% of your bill. And then deductible is like a flat fee. So if you go to maybe like A ward is like 3,500, or like let's say if you go down the ward can be 2,500 and 1,500, and what it means is that that means you will have to pay this amount first before the insurance will kick in.
Yeah. So there will be a portions that we will have to pay all right? And can that portion be covered by MediSave as well?
Sometimes actually people do take from their MediSave money.
So they can partially of it
Yeah, they actually can. So, but it also depends, because even in MediSave, there are also limits. Not everything you can claim, and also to every single thing there's a limit to how much you can take out from your MediSave. Because ultimately, they want to make it like such that it will be sustainable also. So it's unlikely that they will allow, or government will not allow us to wipe out a whole MediSave just for a certain thing.
I see. All right, so to summarize it, basically for this MediShield Life, that we are having is actually a social scheme, that the government are actually designed for us.
Correct.
All right, so they got to be in a subsidized wards, like B2 or C class.
Yeah.
And there will be certain portions, that we probably have to come out ourselves. Most probably going to be minimal because it's going to be subsidized, right, with that 10%. And with the deductible, probably like $1,500 to $2,000. All right. I got one experience, last year when I go for a kidney operation.
Oh yeah.
So it was to me a shock. Like just remove, though it's a very complex of it. Then I went for a private hospital and eventually cost me almost $100,000. All right. So from what you are saying over here, so just now you mentioned that there is such thing that people who want more, right?
Yeah,
so
correct.
They will have something called like integrated,
yes.
all right, shield plans. Can you probably explain to us how does the MediShield Life and this integrated shield plans, that are coexist, and how do we help us on that?
Okay, so it's really interesting you mentioned about the bill size. So I also did prepare something, like just roughly to let everyone know roughly the type of cost that we are looking at. So like for a simple, like let's say a knee replacement surgery that we are doing, you can see from C ward in the restructure all the way to private hospital, the cost can be actually very different.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
6 times you're talking about.
Yeah. Because if you're in a private space, there's also no subsidies as well.
I see.
So that's why MediShield Life is really suitable for really you can see the price difference, right? If like what you mentioned just now, 100K, I mean that's already like 3/4 of the 150K of the clinic.
That's
so it's really a lot. Yeah, so when the integrated shield plan comes in, what it does is that it covers those things lah. Like so, for example, like currently right now, MediShield Life will cover you in the public ward B2 and C, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so integrated shield plan, I can actually cover higher.
I see.
So I pay an extra premium. So it will not duplicate with what MediShield Life is. It's just extra that it allows you to go to, let's say, restructure ward A class. Or even if, let's say, you are more, your lifestyle is a bit more, like you want more comfortable, you can actually choose a private scheme that allows you to go to private hospital. Also have. Yeah, so there's a variety of schemes that you can choose from depending on what is suitable for your lifestyle.
So actually there's an integrated shield plan for restructured hospital.
Yes.
For people who go to government hospital to stay in A ward class.
Yes,
And
correct.
there's also a private one.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
They are integrated on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's
So
right.
so that'll be good for us. Okay, if let's say we want to have more covers and want to have more privacy, right? Even for a restructured hospital, we can actually upgrade it.
Yes, correct. So the good thing is that, like having the integrated shield plan, you can also don't need to go through like the polyclinic system and go. You can also directly go to the hospital itself, or like you can also choose your doctors, because even in restructured hospital, there are also options that you can choose a particular doctor that, let's say, you think that is pertaining to your condition.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's also some of the plus points lah. But of course, having said that, it will be basically a top up of cash to actually pay for this kind of integrated shield plan. Yeah.
I see. All right. Is that substantial?
I would say that it has become substantial over the years, especially if you are picking a private hospitalization coverage, and also depends on your age, because it can be quite scary. I mean, people who are in their 70s, I mean, they could be paying thousands, in a year just for a coverage that they may or may not need.
I see.
Or they may not they may not go to the hospital that year, right? They still pay it. Yeah.
With your professions on it, lucky with the challenge of what we are facing today, all right, very high cost of living,
Yeah.
okay, medical scientifics coming out more and more newer medicines of it, and we as a customer, we have been always complaining, okay, the premium has been always increasing all the time, getting more and more expensive on
Yeah.
it. Like, what will you see, okay, the Singapore in the future like? All right, do you think, okay, that a MediShield Life itself, all right, is going to be helping us to pull through or not?
Okay, so like what you mentioned, Singapore, we are, of course, in recent years, we have seen a lot more news that Singapore medical inflation is extremely high, right? At least like maybe 7 to 8, and that's a very conservative number. And moving forward, like also with the medical advances that we are having, and also knowing that Singapore is an aging population, so we know that most likely, I mean, medical inflation will be here to stay lah. That's the thing. Yeah, so MediShield Life, whether it's enough, we will say that ultimately, if you are simple, you can live with MediShield Life, because it is designed for basic healthcare. But for many Singaporeans, we are actually not that basic. Yeah, so if you realize in Singapore, we are really not that basic, and most people will actually at least want to be in an A ward or have an option of A ward in a restructured hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, so these kind of things is something we do with our standard of living, like what you mentioned. So moving forward, ultimately, in this space, MediShield Life, Integrated Shield Plan, it's a very regulated space, because ultimately the government would still want to promote affordability of the premiums.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, so not related, not projected or anything, but if let's say we are moving towards this direction of medical inflation and things like that, and wanting the premiums to be affordable. Okay, there are only a few ways that we can make it affordable. Number one is that we either have more co-payment from the customer, which currently right now we know that throughout Singapore, maximum we can cover is 95%. There's no more 100% anymore. So there is no promises that maybe in the future it could be like 70%, right? To make it more affordable. Or number two is that maybe the coverage can be more strict. That means lesser coverage for the same premium price, which we see that now also, like some of the cancer drugs, right? They are also not the full list anymore.
I see.
There are some restrictions. Or the last one is increased premium. which is less likely because like, until a certain point in time, I mean, how much can people pay for premiums? Okay. So they have to come to a point where it's balanced. So I think in the future there will be more, co-responsibility lah.
I see. So these are something what the government is in store for us.
Yeah.
All right, for at least a social scheme. Okay, that we're moving into old age on it. Okay, as long as we live simply. Right. At least we have that MediShield life.
Yes, correct. It's basic.
Right. Can we have understand a little bit more? Let's say, assuming that when I am actually during my younger days, I am okay with the private scheme. All right. But ultimately, the premium is like getting crazy and difficult on it, that manner, right? Do they provide step downs for us?
So like just now I mentioned, there are many schemes, right? So if you are on a private scheme, you are on the most top tier atas scheme already. So there is option for you to downgrade over time, which most people actually do.
Okay.
Yeah, so now people who are in the 60s, sometimes they downgrade from private to restructured hospital, and there is no issue with that. Yeah, so they just pay a lower premium.
I see.
And they just basically get a lower coverage as well. So you can downgrade all the way. Of course, downgrade all the way until MediShield Life is the most minimum that you have to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the questions on medical pre-existing thing, or rather I wouldn't say pre-existing. Let's say we do claim for certain diseases on it, right? Will these schemes prevent us for future insurabilities or not?
This scheme, okay, so in terms of all the insurance, right, we know we have critical illness, death insurance, and health insurance. Health insurance is the most strictest of them all in terms of medical underwriting. Okay. Yeah, so there's no issue if we do a downgrade, but if like I want to upgrade instead, they will have a medical underwriting.
I see.
Yeah, so it will go through your pre-existing conditions and things like that. But of course, fortunately, MediShield Life still covers pre-existing conditions. Okay. It's just the integrated shield plan that you adds up you're maybe excluded, or worst case scenario, you might not even get the insurance at all.
I see. Thank you very much. Okay, 我们的谢谢嘉敏今天的分享。在这个很有挑战性的新加坡，医药一直在上涨，我们政府也一直在想尽办法帮助我们呢，所以我们有这个医药保健给 MediShield Life，that cover us for life，如果我们是选择基本的一个医药的服务，就是去 B2 class 或 C class，most of it we can just put through。Alright, okay, 所以我们也要小心啊。如果是我们想要一些享受 ，alright，所以我们可以从private scheme， okay， but 我们还是有 opportunity to step down， alright， into public scheme and then eventually to manage your life， alright， 所以那些要做这样的一个调整的话，也要小心啊。就是如果你买那个 public， 你要上去 private。Right. Okay. Then if the medical is not going to be that good, okay, then the reverse will not be correct in a sense. Okay. So downgrade, okay, will not a problem. Upgrade, okay, will depend on 你现在的这个健康的状况是多少。好，我们谢谢一些的基本的常识，能够帮助我们更加认识这一个保健跟这个公积金政府所给我们的，然后我们自己人民想要加多的又是什么？我们下礼拜我们会进入另外的2个 scheme 里面，就是一个cash shield scheme and DPS scheme，dependent protection scheme。所以这2个礼拜我们都会在这些医药保险当中里面跟大家来分享。若是你们有任何的具体的问题，可能在这里没有答到你的，你都可以在这个留言板那边把你们的问题写下来，然后我们下礼拜我们也可以来跟你分享你的问题在里面。好，我们谢谢嘉敏，今天在当中跟我们一起来分享，谢谢大家的时间，
谢谢，
我们下个礼拜见1点半，拜拜。